Hello students, welcome to Clarity for Sure. Today we are going to discuss about the report of MPI 2025, that is Multidimensional Poverty Index. Before we get into it, let us understand some static concepts related to it. First, why was the Multidimensional Poverty Index needed? You might feel that what was the need of it? So for a long time, poverty was measured only using income or consumption level. So traditional poverty measures focused only on money. So if a person earned less than a fixed poverty line, suppose we consider that line as rupees 5,000. So anybody who is earning less than this will be poor, and anybody who is earning more than this will be non-poor, right? So but poverty in real life is much more complex. A family may earn above the poverty line, that is they are earning more than 5,000 rupees, yet lack clean drinking water, have no electricity, suffer from malnutrition, or have children who do not attend school. So income-based measures fail to capture these realities where there was no clean drinking water, children did not go to school, no electricity, right? So many things where a family can lag. So this created the need for the multidimensional poverty index. So MPI was designed to measure multiple deprivations at the same time, not just lack of income. So first, MPI was needed because income does not reflect access to basic services like health, education, sanitation and housing. Two, households with the same income can experience very different living conditions. Second, income poverty does not show how poor the poor actually are. MPI captures not only how many people are poor, but also how intense their poverty is. So third, MPI helps identify who is poor and why. By breaking poverty into indicators, policymakers can see whether deprivation is due to health, education or living standards. So MPI allows better targeting of government policies. Instead of a one-size-fits-all approach, government can design sector-specific interventions like nutrition programs, sanitation schemes or schooling reforms. Right? You might be knowing all the schemes which Government of India has come pertaining to this, right? So finally, MPI is especially useful for monitoring development goals, such as the Sustainable Development Goals, which focus on improving overall human well-being, not just income. So in simple words, MPI was needed because poverty is multidimensional and measuring it through income alone gives an incomplete and misleading picture. So we can say it captures how many people are poor, like how poor they are, that is the intensity of deprivations that they are experiencing. Okay. So this MPI report is developed by Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative, that is OPHI, and UNDP. So MPI values ranges from 0 to 1. A lower value indicates better performance. So the MPI is measured on the basis of 3 dimensions and 10 indicators. Let's look at them. So the first one is health. So in health we have nutrition, that is any adult or child in household is undernourished. Then child mortality, the child has died in the family within 5 years. Basically per 1000 birth, how many children are dying? Okay, till they reach the age of 5 years. Then in education we have years of schooling, so no household member completed 6 years of formal schooling. Then we have school attendance. Any school age children is not attending school up to class 8. So they may be enrolled but they are not attending. So that is why this was also taken into consideration. Then living standards. For living standards we have 6 indicators: cooking fuel, sanitation, water, electricity, housing, assets. So household cooks with wood, charcoal, coal or dung. So basically whatever fuel they are using for their cooking purposes. Household lacks improved or unshared private sanitation facilities. This Government of India has recently focused on, right? Through the Swachh Bharat mission, right? No access to safe water within a 30-minute walk. The household has no access to a legal electricity connection. The word legal here is important, right? Floor, roof or walls use inadequate natural materials. Household lacks radio, TV, phone, bike or refrigerator. So you can see that the total weight is 1 and they have been divided. So here each weight is 1 by 6, 1 by 6. Here also 1 by 6, 1 by 6, because here 2 indicators are there. So all these three dimensions, health, education, living standards, they all have been allocated 1 by 3 score. Okay. So if we want to calculate deprivation score, which I'll come in the later part, okay, let me discuss it now only. So you can see that deprivation profile. So every individual is scored on all indicators. Now I'll teach you how this deprivation score we get. Suppose, let's look at this. Suppose there is a family which is deprived in nutrition. Basically, they are not getting uh, basically the children or the adult in the family is undernourished. So here deprivation is 1 by 6, right? Then sanitation, suppose sanitation facilities is not available, so 1 by 18, right? Then let's pick up something else. Maybe legal electricity connection is also not available, so again 1 by 18. So suppose for this family we want to calculate the deprivation score. So what we will do is 1 by 6 plus 1 by 18 plus 1 by 18. So it will come around equal to 5 by 18, which is 0.278. So this is their deprivation score. So you can see it, right? So if the deprivation score is like the DS is greater than equal to 0.33, then we consider that this household is multidimensionally poor. Okay. This could be equal to 33% also. Okay. So this is called the dual cutoff method. So there is a cutoff for each indicator, and the cutoff is also there for overall poverty. That is, this 33% exists for overall poverty. And here you have seen, right, 1 by 6, 1 by 8, 18. So these are the indicators. So if the deprivation score is greater than 0.33, that person is MPI poor. If this DS is greater than or equal to 50%, then we call them severely poor. If it is 20 to 33%, we basically consider them vulnerable to poverty. Right? Okay. So this is the MPI poor. We have got the poverty cutoff K. I told you this is 0.33. Then there is a formula to calculate MPI. This is head count into intensity of poverty, that is H into A. What is head count ratio? Head count ratio is going to measure that how many people are poor. So basically H equal to number of MPI poor people by total population, that is percentage of people who are poor. Basically number of MPI poor people by total population. Then we have A, which stands for intensity of poverty. So how poor are they? Right, I told you in the definition itself that MPI is going to measure how many people are poor and how poor they are. So A is equal to sum of deprivation score of poor, right? This is the deprivation score we got. In this case, we got 0.278, right? So sum of deprivation score of poor by number of poor. So for an overall country, if you're going to consider, you have to add so many families, right? Family 1 is this, then family 2, family 3. So you'll be adding it and then divided by number of poor. So the average deprivation score of those poor people. So MPI is basically H into A. So you have to remember this formula. So H is basically incidence of poverty, that how many people are poor, and intensity of poverty is A. Right. Let's move on. So you can see that head count ratio for India was 16.4%. So the percentage of population identified as multidimensionally poor in India is 16.4. That means that 16 out of every 100 Indian is poor. MPI poor, not just the poor, it could be MPI poor, right? Poor in terms of multidimensional index. So intensity of deprivation is 42%. So on average, those in poverty are deprived in 42% of weight indicators. So MPI value is equal to 0.069. Right. So in terms of nutrition, you can see that 28.6% people are deprived in this category. Then for years of schooling, 18.7% are deprived. School attendance 9.5, child mortality 3.6, cooking fuel 11.2, housing 11, sanitation 9.1, electricity 1.7, drinking water 2.2, assets 4.5. Right. India has also developed its own national multi-dimensional poverty index. Okay. So to measure poverty at the national, state and district level so that the policies could be made accordingly. Okay. And Indian realities and policies, they have to be adjusted accordingly. That is why they have come up with NMPI, and this has been prepared by help from Niti Aayog. Then they have taken technical support from UNDP, and this will mainly be taking data from NFHS, that is National Family Health Survey. So this will help it in forming this particular report. So the structure of the India's MPI is basically that in India's MPI is also based on the same global Alkire Foster methodology used in the Global MPI, but with India specific indicators and threshold. So the same dimensions are there: health, education, and standard of living. But instead of 10 indicators which were used in the Global MPI, India has 12 indicators. So what is added extra? Maternal health and bank account. These two things have been added. So each dimension has equal weight, that is 1 by third, and indicators within the dimension are equally weighted. So you can see earlier child mortality was given 1 by 6 only in case of global MPI, but here it is 1 by 12 because the rest 1 by 12 has gone to maternal health, right? So a household is considered MPI poor if it is deprived in 33% or more of weighted indicators. So same, the poverty cutoff is same, 30%, 33%, right? Okay. So India's MPI is measured at district level, not just national level, and it tracks changes over time. So it is used to monitor reduction in poverty, the effectiveness of the government schemes, and to track also SDG 1. What is SDG 1? No poverty, right? Okay. So India's MPI showed that millions moved out of multidimensional poverty in recent years. Due to the COVID-19, a lot of that effect has been nullified, but still a lot of people were able to move out of multidimensional poverty in recent years. Large reductions were seen due to improvement in a lot of schemes, like for sanitation it was Swachh Bharat Mission, for electricity it was Saubhagya, for cooking fuel it was Ujwala, for bank account it was Jan Dhan, right? Okay. So for global MPI, you know, the national surveys, MICS, DHS, all these information have been used. And for India's MPI, the data source is NFHS. I already told you. Why did we need it is basically global MPI is not tailored to India's welfare architecture. India needed granular district level poverty data to assess scheme wise impact, to move beyond income poverty and focus on human development outcomes. So let's look at India's transformation. 24.8 crore people moved out of multidimensional poverty in the last 9 years. So largest decline has been observed in Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh. The top performer is Kerala. So Kerala this year on November 1 became India's first state to declare itself free from extreme poverty. Thanks to the 4-year extreme poverty eradication project EP that they had used to uplift over 64,000 families with housing, food, health and livelihood support through those. We can say that Kerala has successfully eliminated extreme poverty, a significant step in its inclusive development model, though overall poverty reduction remains a continuous process, and that has been highlighted by the opposition parties also. All these transformation is the result of the impact of certain government schemes. So in terms of sanitation, it was Swachh Bharat Mission, right? Then for cooking fuel, it was Ujwala Yojana. Then for financial inclusion, that opening of bank account and all, it was Jan Dhan Yojana. Then for electricity, it was Saubhagya Yojana. So combining all of these schemes which were doing targeted development in development in the indicators, right? That is why we were able to achieve all of these things. Okay, let's move to the report. What is the global MPI report saying? That 1.1 billion poor people face staggering gaps in basic infrastructure. So they live in acute multidimensional poverty. So in various parameters we will look at it. For clean fuel, we can see 970 million people lack this. Housing, 878 million people do not have houses or shelters. Sanitation, 830 million people lack it. Nutrition, 635 million. This is very important because the future generation are dependent on nutrition. Then education, 487 million children are out of school. So 76 out of 88 countries with comparable data have shown a significant decline in MPI. So Benin was able to record the fastest absolute reduction globally. Then Cambodia, it has done significant strides between 2014 and 2022. Tanzania, it has also rapidly improved in the recent years. One of the important thing about this report was that it was under the title Overlapping Hardships, Poverty and Climate Hazards. So a lot of importance have been given to climate this time. So for the first time, it overlays climate hazard data with multidimensional poverty to assess poor people's exposure to climate shocks, focusing on high heat, drought, flood, and air pollution. Why? You might have seen that in the recent months only, Bihar had faced flood. So you might have realized, so poor people or maybe middle class people, those who had shelters which were destroyed by the floods, they are some of the in some of the places it led to the formation of new poor people who were not poor before, but now they are poor because they have lost their shelter, right? So let's look at the key findings. So 1.1 billion people out of 6.3 billion people live in acute multidimensional poverty. Acute here means extreme, right? So more than 50% of the poor are children, highlighting generational vulnerability. You can use this term in writing your answers. Around 740 million poor people, approximately 64.5%, live in middle income countries. 887 million poor individuals are exposed to at least one of the four major climate hazards: high heat, drought, floods, and air pollution. Right? India is also facing a severe mix of all of these things. Without strong climate mitigation, extreme poverty could nearly double by 2050. So 309 million poor people live in areas with 3 or 4 overlapping climate hazards and severe poverty, facing a triple or quadruple burden with few assets and little social protection. So about 2/3 of the world's poor live in middle income countries, with 55.5% in lower middle income countries and 9% in upper middle income nation. So the key challenges is that poverty extends beyond low income to include overlapping deficits in health, malnutrition, education, low attainment, and standard of living. So we have to integrate the programs like Poshan Abhiyan, Samagra Siksha, and PM Awas Yojana for a holistic approach to address all deprivation simultaneously. Then we have to be prepared for the vulnerability to climate shocks. The poor, often in climate sensitive sectors like agriculture, are disproportionately affected by floods, droughts, and heat waves, which can wipe out gains and cause them to enter into poverty. Great. So promoting climate resilient agriculture, and we have to also provide them insurance. So Fasal Bima Yojana, this comes to our mind, right? So we have to promote drought resistant crops and develop climate risk insurance to protect livelihoods and assets. Then I think you can also mention in your answers about the large informal sector workforce, which can easily be pushed into poverty. So vast majority of the poor work in the informal economy with no job security, social safety nets, or decent wages, making them highly vulnerable, right, to poverty. So we have to implement schemes like e-Shram and Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandhan for pensions and Skill India Mission to enhance the employability in formal sector. This is being done, but we just have to if you are asked in the examination like what is being done, you can mention all of these things. And if you are asked that what more can be done, then you can mention whatever ideas are coming into your mind, right? So I think this thing about aspirational district program for backward regions, so these things you can mention. Then you can also mention about PM Kisan, farmer producer organization for better market access, then improve infrastructure through agriculture infrastructure fund, all of these things which you have studied, you can mention it in your answers. Now it's time for you to answer some questions. You can write the answers in the comment section. Here is your first question. According to the 2024-25 Global MPI report, where do the majority of the world's 1.1 billion poor people live? I hope you know the answer. The number 2, what is the specific headcount ratio of multidimensional poverty in India as per the latest 2025 findings? Next, which new environmental theme was integrated into the 2025 MPI report for the first time? We just talked about it. I hope you remember. The title of the report will also help you in answering this. Next is, in the calculation of MPI, what is the required deprivation score for a person to be officially classified as poor? Very easy to answer. Number 5, which Indian state is officially on track? You can now say that they have already declared themselves extreme poverty free state. Okay, I hope you know the answer. Next is, which of the following parameter is excluded from the calculation of the multidimensional poverty index? Look into it carefully. I hope you remember all the 10 indicators. Now I am giving you a subjective question which you should try to answer. Okay, just in the comment section give a broad view of how you are going to answer it. What points are you going to mention? You don't have to write the entire answer, just mention that these are the things I'm going to answer. I hope you are attending the answer writing sessions, and if you are looking for mentorship program for your phase 2, you can join in our Telegram channel. This is our main channel and this is for IBPS AFO, and this is the website which you can go to for enrolling in the course. And of course, I hope you are already a subscriber of our YouTube channel. Clarity for sure. Have a nice day, friends, and keep preparing for phase 2.